Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're going to be talking about taking risks. Now, I don't know how many of you are, in fact, risk takers. I always have been one, for better or for worse, right? And I think when you're younger, especially when you're male, up to the age of, say, 25, that's when you tend to be the most risky in your behavior. Any decision you make has consequences. It also has benefits too, right? There are benefits and consequences to everything. I spent about 20 years in the financial services business, and I was also an analyst at a money management firm, a couple of hedge funds I worked at, and as well as managed private accounts for clients as well. And one of the things that that I had to do was I had to buy stocks for clients, company stocks, and there is risk in it in the short run, more so than in the long run. But in the short run, there's risk that you could buy or sell the stock at the wrong time. So you have to ask yourself, what do I need to make my decision? Well, the decision oftentimes comes from information that you have. And now here's the thing. You have the people who make decisions and the people who don't make decisions. People who don't make the decisions have things happen to them, while people who make decisions often make their own breaks. So I'll give you an example. Let's say there's a stock that I want to buy that's at $10. And anytime I buy a stock for a client, I'm looking at 100% return over time. It could be a month, it could be a year, it could be 5 years. Right? That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking to see, does the client have potential to double their money? But when I'm buying something for them, there's also the risk that the client could lose money. Right? I could buy it at 10 and it could go down to 9. All of a sudden they're down 10% on their purchase. So I have to think to myself, okay, what compels me to buy this stock? And what would compel me not to buy the stock? Well, the longer I wait, the more information will come out. At what point do I say I have enough information and I pull the trigger, so to speak, right? Pull the trigger, buy it. Because if it's going up, for instance, sometimes I don't have enough information and I may just have to buy it without having perfect information. Here's the thing. Without risk, there's not reward. Let me say it again. If you don't step out and take a chance, you'll never benefit from it. So one of the things people talk about is lottos, right? Lotteries. The chance that you're going to lose your money is almost guaranteed. However, if you don't buy a ticket, the chance that you're not going to win the lottery is also guaranteed. Now, do people win the lotto? Of course they do. They could be 1 out of 1,000,000. Those are horrible odds, but yet people will do it nonetheless because they're thinking, what's $1? And if I could win $1 million, then it was fine. So they think of it that way and they buy it. On the other hand, when it comes to investing money in a stock that moves up and down on a per minute basis, let alone daily, monthly, right? It moves per minute. You could wait 30 seconds and you could lose $1 per share or make $1 per share, whatever you have. But if you're one of those who waits for all the information to come in, you're lessening your risk, but then you also lessen your reward. Because let's say this $10 stock gets to 20, right? And I know it's going to get to 20, or I assume it is based on my analysis. At 11, I say, no, it's too expensive. And then it hits 12, and then it hits 13, right? So by the time I get all the information that makes me comfortable to buy the stock, it's now 50. Well, I was looking at it at 10, but I waited until 15. Well, it's already gotten half the gain that I can get out of it. So now I'm going to have it from 15 to 20, which means that it's only going to be a 33% gain. $5, which is the remainder from 15 to 20, is now only 1/3 of $15. Whereas if I had pulled the trigger earlier when I thought I wanted to do it at 10, then I would have made a $10 profit, which would then give me 100% return. Does that make sense? Because I was willing to pull the trigger early and forego waiting for more information, I was able to up my potential reward. On the other hand, For the person that wanted to lessen their risk by getting more information before they decide to make the buy, they're going to give up a lot of their return. Right? Less risk, less potential reward. Now, with regard to your life, do you approach it as somebody who takes risks or somebody who doesn't? If you look at it as somebody who doesn't take risks, you'll tend to see that they will have less success in their life. Let me say it again. The less risk you take, the less success in life you will experience. Now, that doesn't mean that you will have a bad life. No, I don't mean that at all. It just means that in order to get rewards, you have to be willing to take risks. So now let's say you work for a company and you're mowing lawns, right? This guy your boss has a thriving lawn care business, and you're one of his workers. You've been there for the last year or so, and you're mowing 8 lawns a day. And each time you mow a lawn, you get $20. So you make $160 a day. You do that 5 days a week. That's $800 a week. So it's $3,200 a month. Not bad money. But you know that you could make more if you just went and hustled and got your own business, your own jobs going. But at the same time, if you do that, you're going to have to leave your boss, because now you'd be competing with him, and he's going to fire you if he finds out you're competing with him. But you know your boss is making more off of you than you are off of him, right? Because he's getting $30 for every customer you mow the lawn for. You're getting only $20. And there are other people just like you. But you're smart enough to run the numbers in your head and think, you know what? He's making more off of me. Why don't I do it myself? But you also realize that your boss is very good at sales. He's good at meeting with people and convincing them to let him have his crew do the lawn for them. And he also does billing, and he keeps up with the money and all that. And you know all that because he's shown you what he does every day. And you think to yourself, man, I could do all that. But in order to do that, you'd actually have to leave your job, which means that you'd have no money for a little while, no income coming in until you can secure some jobs. You already bought your own equipment because it's part of your job. You need to have your own truck and your own lawn equipment, all that kind of stuff. But you have all that. So now what you're thinking is, well, I could do it on my own, but if I do, I'm going to have that period of time where I have no money. So now that's a risk. So you have to ask yourself, do I have enough information now to step off the curb, so to speak, to cross to the other side, the side of being a business owner? Do I have enough information in my mind now to make it so I'll make the decision? That's really only up to you. If you do nothing, you stay on that side of the street and you never step off the curb to cross the street, you'll continue making $3,200 a month. But if you can cross to the other side and you can get even half of the clients that you have now, you'll be getting the entire $50 versus only $20. Right? So if you get half of the clients that you're mowing for now on your own, you'll make more money. But then you're like, I'm not so sure. Well, to find out, you're going to have to take a risk now, aren't you? Right? That's where being a risk taker comes in, and it can be rewarding. On the other hand, you realize, wait a minute, let's say you do take the risk and you realize, wait a minute, I suck at customer service. I don't answer my phone on time. I'm not there. I can't schedule everything well, and I end up being late or not showing up. And, I also got to do taxes, and I'm not good at that. And, you could realize that you end up being a failure. Don't know. That's a risk you're going to have to run. Now, you could take the idea that, it's going to be harder than I've ever worked before, but I might as well go and do it. That's how every business owner gets started. They always have that unsure moment where they're trying to gather information. What possibly could run me afoul, and what possibly could to make it so I lose everything. And yet they continue to go forward anyway. That's a risk taker. So a lot of people, they get upset at their boss and they say, I'm the one that's mowing all the lawns for my boss. My boss is driving an F-350 dually and he's driving the limited edition, whereas I'm driving an F-150 and I'm driving the cheap work truck version. right? I'm doing all the work for him, but yet he's driving around and just supervising me and the other 5 guys that are working for him, right? So you think to yourself, man, that's not fair. Well, of course it's fair. Step off the curb, cross the street, and join the side of the business owner and do it for yourself. Your boss did that at one point. He was doing what you were doing, and he decided that he wanted something bigger and better, and he was willing to take the risk to do it, right? A lot of people, they just talk. I hate the business owners and, big business this and big business that. But in reality, a big business started off as a small business. And that small business was started by a company founder who took the risks that he needed to take to build the business to where it is. So when people say, hey, I need to get $15 an hour for my job flipping burgers, right? And if my boss doesn't pay me that, then I'm going to go scream to my city council person to have them make it mandatory for there to be a $15 minimum wage. How do you know that the manager is making money, that the owner is making money? He may not be. He may be struggling to keep you employed at $10 an hour, but he feels a responsibility to you. And because of that, he's taking less money in his end, right? You don't know what his situation is. But at the end of the day, whether the business fails or not has nothing to do with you, because you can always go find another job. If the business fails with him, he took the risk and shelled all his money out to found that business, to create that business. And that if the business fails, he loses everything, right? The workers, the employees are not in the position to lose everything. They may lose a wage, but if they lose everything, it's just because they didn't save their money. On the other hand, the business owner saved his money when he was a worker, created that pool of money, and then used that pool of money to go and take a risk and start a business. Being a risk taker is not an easy thing. It's not for everyone, right? Sometimes people who take risks, they're kind of missing some screws in their head, right? Especially the perpetual entrepreneur, because they're always looking for a good idea. But all they need is one idea to hit. And every failed business prior to that is an experience that they have that contributes to their overall wisdom, so that when they do that final business that makes it big for them, they learned through all that other time that makes them have the knowledge that they need to be successful in that business. A lot of times the employees or workers don't see all that went into getting that far. All they see is what they see, and they can only see what is going on with the boss. Maybe the boss has a nicer house than they do, nicer car. Maybe they take a lot of trips or whatever. But you have to realize, think of the duck that's swimming on top of a pond, right? Ducks are really calm, right? And they're peaceful, but their feet are moving like crazy, like that. And that is the risk taker. The risk taker who's diligent knows that on the surface, he wants to make it look as calm and as cool as possible, but underneath it all, he's working like a dog. So if you want to be a risk taker, know that there's often a lot of work involved that you're going to have to do before you have the information you need to take the risk. But if you wait too long to gather all the information as opposed to just some of the information, right? If you wait to gather all the information, your opportunity may be gone because you weren't willing to take the risk earlier when you had this much information, right? And I can talk about, that my parents, right? My father was a serial entrepreneur. He did pretty well in life. My mom was always working for someone, but and now that I'm older, I can see that both my parents, I can evaluate them. My father was a risk taker, but he was one who would gather information, and as soon as he thought he had enough information, he would make the move. My mom would always wait to the point where, that opportunity is gone already. Somebody else is already doing it. So I grew up with my mom. So a lot of my life, I thought the way my mom did, but being a young male where, all that testosterone that starts to kind of start when you're a teenager up until your mid-20s, you're naturally risky in your behavior, and you will take risks in that way. I'll give you an example. When I was in high school, I had a commodities trading account. I traded futures, and I also had a mutual fund account I traded, and by the way, when I traded futures, I was trading T-bond contracts, mini T-bond contracts, but I was still trading them nonetheless. I was playing interest rates. And when I got to college, I learned even more while I was doing it, and it was crazy. By the time I had saved over the, from working my small jobs, I had saved about $5,000, and this is back in the early '90s, late '80s, early '90s. I had saved all this money. Actually, this was in the mid '80s. I was still in high school. I got out of high school in '86, so it was sometime between maybe when I was a junior up until I was finished in college. I'd accumulated and traded and made money, lost money, but at the end of my college years, I lost it all. Right? I lost the $5,000 that I had put together to trade and stuff. But it gave me a huge amount of information. Right? In retrospect, $5,000, it wasn't all that much. Back then, it was a lot of money. It took me a lot of hard work to save that money, only to blow it. But I learned every time I did a bad trade. And I learned when I made a good trade. And I learned how, I needed to be able to more quickly digest information. I learned that when I went over to my job as a young junior securities analyst at a money management firm, seeing how my boss did things, it really opened my eyes. And what it did, though, is it took my inexperience combined with my experience, and it helped to kind of right the ship, so to speak, and in making it so I could end up doing a better job for clients and for myself. So I hope this kind of helps you to kind of evaluate, number one, what risk is, and number two, whether you should take it, and if you do, whether you should take it, the timing of it. Because you can use it to your benefit or your detriment. It just depends on your mentality, how you look at things, and how much work you're willing to put into it. I hope that helped you. If you have any questions on anything, just go ahead and comment below. Be sure to like and subscribe and share if you like it that much. Anyway, take care. Have a great day. Bye now.